In the Heart of the Sea, or It Hot as I like to call it, is an adventure thriller based on true events that took place in the first quarter of the 19th century when an American whaling ship called the Essex was attacked and subsequently destroyed by an enraged sperm whale in the Pacific Ocean. Eventually losing their ship, the crew attempted to sail to South America in whaleboats, all the while suffering from starvation and dehydration. It is one of two actual events that were the inspiration for Herman Melville when writing his legendary novel Moby-Dick. The pros and cons of this film are pretty easy to sum up, and since unfortunately I thought that the bad stuff outweighs the good, I'm going to start off by mentioning what I actually thought worked about this film. First of all, the directing. I thought it was pretty much flawless, even better than I expected. All throughout the film, I was constantly paying attention to the camera work, which is pretty much effective to a T, to where it actually made me feel kind of seasick. It was incredible. I was sitting there in the theater watching the film and just suddenly felt like throwing up. And I can't believe I would ever say that a film making me want to throw up would be a good thing. Ron Howard, the director, did an excellent job in making you feel like you're actually there, like you're actually on that ship, like you're actually on the deck, and there's just movement all around you. The waves of the ocean are just rocking you back and forth. Another strong point of the film, in my opinion, is the acting, and even though I felt like the characters were somewhat underdeveloped, you can really tell that these actors absolutely gave it their all when it came to their performances. Not to mention that they had to lose a lot of weight for portraying the characters they had to portray, which Chris Hemsworth describes as physically and emotionally the hardest movie he's ever been a part of. The casting is good, and I think everyone pretty much did the best job they could in portraying these somewhat cliched characters. Chris Hemsworth plays a highly skilled and ambitious first mate, who also happens to be a family man, and wouldn't you know it, just as he is setting out on this very dangerous mission, he is awaiting the birth of his first child. Benjamin Walker plays the dislikable, arrogant, and self-centered captain with a chip on his shoulder, and boy wonder Tom Holland plays the naive and inexperienced cabin boy. And now for the bad stuff. I have to honestly say that Cillian Murphy is completely wasted in this film. I mean, he's a magnificent actor, and I don't know what happened. Maybe they filmed more scenes with him that eventually got cut from the final film. I mean, he has one good scene. He almost basically does nothing in this entire film, and his character pretty much could have been played by anybody. And in a nutshell, that's what this whole movie kind of feels like. It feels like a very indecisive movie, a film which doesn't really know what type of story it wants to be telling. It's like they couldn't decide whether to make this kind of more exciting action-adventure type thing, or a survival story in which this crew of men get cast away and have to survive most physically and emotionally challenging hardships, or a monster movie. I would say the whale is actually the most unimpressive part of the movie. The whale doesn't really do jack shit. It's basically there just to be more of a plot device rather than a threat, honestly. So instead of just going with one storyline, this film tried to possess pretty much all of the elements without actually giving any of them any justice. And because of this, the good moments are so few and far between that it is neither as emotional nor as epic as it truly wants to be. Oddly enough, my favorite part of the film is like the first third, when we are shown what it is exactly that these sailors have to do every day, how they hunt for and how they catch whales. And it is a lifestyle that's presented to us as something not glorious at all, quite on the contrary. It's something that's very difficult, dangerous, dirty, and quite tedious. And this gives birth to one of the movie's best scenes, in which the cabin boy has to get inside, actually has to go through the blowhole of a sperm whale and get inside its head to extract some oil. And this scene works really well because it's funny, it's disgusting, and the prop they built for the inside of the whale is just really good. But on the other hand, and this is absolutely the worst offender of this film, the CGI. It's not good. It's so fucking obvious sometimes that these actors are just standing in a studio, wind machine blowing, water being thrown at them, and they're just standing in front of a green screen and that's it. And for a film that's this well acted and well directed especially, and with such good props, practical props, the bad CGI is really a turnoff. And the strangest thing about this film is that it was promoted as being based on the incredible true story that inspired Moby-Dick. And the first time I heard that, I was like, so who gives a shit? And they wanted to connect this story so much to Moby-Dick that they actually have a scene to which they continuously cut back to, in which 30 years later, the writer Herman Melville is actually interviewing the last remaining survivor of the Essex. And it's a scene that doesn't really enhance the plot, it doesn't really work, and it's strange to see because not only do movies dictate trends, but trends have also started to dictate movies, so much so that they have actually made it into the plot of certain movies. And I can understand where the filmmakers of In the Heart of the Sea were coming from. They wanted to make something kind of new, but without actually showing you anything you haven't seen before. But what can you do? You win some, you lose some. That was my review, people. Thanks for watching, as always, and I will see you later.